Hi, my name is David, and welcome to this brief demonstration of the Navia User Story Express application for the ServiceNow platform. The User Story Express application allows business analysts to import process documentation, user stories, and technical requirements that were captured in the Navia Process Designer directly into ServiceNow. This results in better alignment between business goals and the technical implementation in the ServiceNow platform. This minimizes rework and waste by reducing the back and forth between the business analyst and development. It all starts with creating the process design and performing user story mapping in the Navia Process Designer. Here I have a simple process that was created in the Navia Process Designer. Employee submits expense form, manager approves or not, manager submits for payment, and the employee is reimbursed. Navia now allows you to do user story mapping against each of these tasks within the process. So for example, if I open employee submits expense form, I can see we have task details, including the name of the task, a description of the task type, the roles involved in the task, inputs, outputs, user stories, procedures, notes, and much more. Drilling into the user stories, you can see I have two user stories mapped to this step in the process: complete expense report and submission of expense report. If I open up submission of expense report, you can see the short name, you can see the description of the user story, and you can see the acceptance criteria. Once again, you can map more than one user story to each step within the process. Process design and user stories alone do not provide enough detail for a developer. So the next step is mapping technical requirements to the user stories. Here in Navia, you can see a list of all the user stories that have been mapped to the process. In this example, there are 3. If I open up one of the user stories, I will see some additional detail. First of all, there is the name, description, and acceptance criteria, and that was the information you captured when you actually mapped the user story for the first time. But you can now add additional information such as project, epic, status, priority, level of effort, due date, notes, as well as going a little bit deeper and associating the technical requirements you need to support this story. So here you can see we have 10 associated items. If I open it up, it's a list of information that basically provides some additional context to the user story. So for example, on this expense form, we need employee name. We need a report number, receipt images, single sign-on integration, a metric which captures the expense payment cycle time, the state of the process, notification messages, a wireframe that shows the layout of the screen, as well as a company logo which might go within the application. All of these technical specifications can be easily mapped to the user story through this Associate an Item option. And here you can actually associate a task in the process, a data spec, tool spec, state, metric, trigger, notification message, or a document that provides additional context. So it's very easy to further augment your story with the technical requirements you need to fulfill it. The next step is to import the process documentation, technical requirements, and user stories into ServiceNow. So here I am in my instance of ServiceNow. The Navia User Story Express application has 4 tabs. The Design Explorer allows me to go out in real time and explore Navia for process documentation, technical requirements data, as well as user story information. Process Details provides a list of all of the processes that have been imported into ServiceNow. Properties, well, that's where you set up your API keys to form a secure connection between ServiceNow and Navia. And Contact Support, well, that's self-explanatory. Let's go back to the Explorer. Here I see my workspaces. In real time, I can go out to the Process Development workspace and see what processes are there. Let's focus on the employee expense process. I can bring in process documentation, technical design data, as well as user stories. Let's look at the documentation. Documentation can be imported based on one of the many profiles you set up. For example, a complete process document, user story information, or something that's custom just for you. Let's bring in a user story document. Remember, this is being done in real time. This document's been created, brought into ServiceNow, where we can import it. And this document contains all of the information you need for the user stories. An overview, description, the user stories themselves, all of the related items, state information, workflow information, and more. In addition to importing this document, I'm also able to bring in the specific technical design data for this process, including data specifications, tool specifications, the triggers for this process, the various states for the process, state transitions, email notifications, any document that further supports this process, metrics, how you're going to measure the process, as well as the various tasks within the process. We can also bring in the user stories. Here I see a list of 3 user stories that comprise the total of user stories for this particular process. I can select them individually or all at once and import them into ServiceNow. When they're imported, we actually create the user stories within ServiceNow. In this example, I've already imported them, so nothing has changed from this particular import. But if something had changed, we would be updating the user stories. Let's go to Process Details. Here in Process Details, I can see everything that I've imported. Let's look at the employee expense process. We have the name of the process, the description of the process, the status of the process, when it was created, when it was last updated, as well as an audit log or history trail. Here we have some related lists to this record. I can see there's 2 documents that have been imported. One was the user story document, which we imported just a moment ago, as well as the entire employee expense process based on the executive summary profile. I can also see here that I have 3 user stories that were imported, as well as all of the other technical requirements that came in. Now, if I drill into a user story, for example, submission of expense report, I can see the user story information mapped from Navia to one of the user stories in ServiceNow. So here's the short description, the actual story itself, the acceptance criteria. We also have some Navia-specific fields that do not map directly to ServiceNow, but can provide some value, such as the project name, project description, priority, and status. And here we have the related links, where we can see, in addition to the Scrum tasks, prerequisite stories, and dependent stories, which are part of a standard ServiceNow user story record, we have the additional information brought in from Navia. All your data specifications, tool specifications, triggers, state transitions, email notifications, documents, metrics, and tasks. If I drill into one of the data specifications, you can see I have a record that includes all of the detail I need, or what a developer would need actually, to implement this field within a tool. Things like tooltips, implementation technique, feature type, whether it's read-only, whether it's a mandatory field, whether it's visible. All of this information is brought in. You can also see such things as documents. So here I have a couple of documents I brought in, our company logo, which I want to place in the application that we're building, as well as a wireframe. Now this wireframe will link out to an image, and it'll show me how I want the mobile version of the application to be laid out. So the Navia User Story Express application can easily bring in process documentation, technical requirements, and user stories so that you can really help a developer implement a solution quicker and with less rework. Thanks for watching this brief video on the User Story Express application for the ServiceNow platform. For additional information or product support, please contact us at support@navia.com. To learn more about Navia, just go to navia.com.